It's Perp back with another video, and I just got done watching Outer Banks Season 4 Part 2, and man, a lot to talk about. I have my Part 1 review out. If you didn't check that out, go check it out. I had my issues with the season overall with the multiple storylines and just too many kind of characters. But the question is, does part 2 deliver on all these different storylines they were building up in part 1? And I'm going to kind of just go in depth with that and give you my overall thoughts, what I didn't like about part 2, what I really appreciate about part 2, and everything. And there will be spoilers. I repeat, there will be spoilers because there's something major that happens that I wouldn't want you to get spoiled on. So you have been warned. With that being said, let's get into talking about part 2. Now, we pick up right where we left off with part 1, where JJ pretty much finds out that Luke isn't his real father. It's actually Garf, and he's actually he's actually not all the way a kook, but he is part kook, part pogue. We kind of learned that from his father, Garf. And I will say, Garf is definitely a very interesting villain. I feel like he definitely, looking back at it, I think it's kind of smart to have him be the big bad of this season. All the different seasons kind of focused on our characters like parents and how this whole treasure hunting thing has kind of broken them and ruined their relationship, or it just kind of changed their kind of perspective. And you kind of see that repeating itself with our main cast. Like, you have everything that's going on with John B, with his father, and you see what that did. You see what happened with Sarah and her father. But I would say Ward's more redeemable than Garf, for sure. But anyways, like I said, that picks up where we left off with episode 6. We get a cool kind of backstory on Luke and how he even came to be a father to JJ. And this is where we really kind of see Garf's character in full display. He didn't want nothing to really do with JJ. He was willing to just pay Luke off to just, keep this whole thing on the hush hush. And yeah, we kind of get into this town meeting where this is where all these kind of different plot lines that I had an issue with. I was like, are they going to be able to capitalize or just follow through with these storylines? And for the most part, yeah, because then we pick up in this town hall meeting where they're trying to take JJ's like kind of land from him to turn it into this kind of club. And this breaks out into a whole entire riot because not only does JJ get this like complete bombshell of news that is kind of fucking with him throughout this whole second half, that's really getting to him, it's eating him up, and he just goes on this rampage and starts smashing shit up in town. You know what I'm saying? Even going to old buddy's house and trashing that place. Like, they're pretty much doing all the things that would get a normal person locked up. That's one thing that you have to really realize about this show, is there's no logic. So you have to definitely suspend your disbelief with a lot of things that are going on in this show, but it makes for an entertaining watch overall. So eventually JJ, because like this whole season has been focused on JJ, he confronts Garf about the whole him being his son. On the other side of things, we have those mercenaries that are actually looking for Garf because he killed one of their men. So this leads them to kind of have this weird, not so great father-son bonding moment. And this season just gets so fucking crazy from there, where you really see how much of a scumbag Garf is. He's willing to throw his son, he's willing to throw JJ under the bus constantly. He's willing to sacrifice him, like, to save his own ass. He really doesn't care about JJ. You see him throughout this just manipulating him and setting up him for murder, which, like I said, as you're watching this, a lot of these storylines are kind of familiar. It's a lot of recycled stuff that we've kind of already seen. It's just packaged differently because it's JJ. They all kind of have their similarities. I could see some people having some issues with it. To me, it is kind of lazy. They could have kind of different settings, because there's like these different scenes that remind me of, this reminds me of, like, Ward on the boat and stuff. And it's just, it just seemed too familiar. And you have this whole storyline of people trying to get this blue crown. The mercenaries, Garf wants it, while also the Pogues, they get involved looking for it, because the blue crown is most likely the last big treasure to kind of pretty much find in this series, considering they announced that season 5 is going to be the final season, which makes complete sense because this show is going way too wild. You have JJ out here beating up mercenaries like it's nothing. I was just like, bro, you can't really fight like that. But these are the worst mercenaries I've ever seen. That whole group is just very forgettable. They're like the real forgettable villains. So yeah, we kind of see all this stuff kind of play out. We also see that Sarah is pregnant. John B pretty much is a complete side character in this at this point, because like I said, the main focus of this whole entire series is JJ. JJ is the main character, but there are other things that are going on with different characters. Like I said, with John B now dealing with having to be a father. He's kind of complacent or just contemplating like what he wants to do after getting this crown, doing this one last job, pretty much what it seems like. So they don't have to deal with no hardships no more. They don't have to deal with being broke. But now he has to be a father. And I really like the scene that we get with John B and JJ later on in, I think it was episode 9. The penultimate episode, where JJ's really drunk because he's really just kind of going through it, and we see this kind of butting heads of John B and JJ, which is interesting as well. Other storylines that kind of go on is we have Pope, him putting himself on the line to save JJ, ends up getting a slap on the wrist, really, in getting like an ankle bracelet. And I was like, man, I'm not really feeling what they're doing with Pope's character, until he starts to say, you know what, I have options. I either take this deal where he ends up enlisting into the Marines, or do I just kind of just say fuck that, go on the run and risk it all? And he definitely just risks it all, throws everything away, especially for Cleo. Cleo still is trying to look for revenge for, the guy that killed Terrence. So where that goes is very interesting as well. It leads Pope catching his first body, getting that revenge for Cleo, for Terrence, once they kind of get to Morocco, which that's pretty much the build up. All this running from the police. They end up going to Morocco because that's where the Blue Crown is. But let me back it up a little bit, because there's also the involvement of Rafe, and I feel like Rafe has a pretty strong arc, in my opinion, in this second part, where he is kind of going on this semi-redemption kind of route, where he actually wants to help Sarah. He wants to get the money back that was pretty much stolen from him by Garf. Ends up finding out that Sophia was also kind of backdooring him as well. Like, I really just liked Rafe and what he did and what he contributed. He even went out of his way to kind of save the Pogues and make the deal with Shoop to kind of let them go to Morocco to bring back Garf, because like he's in this whole big ass scheme and just being just a straight terrible person. Like, Garf is like absolutely terrible, and I might as well talk about it now, because the big thing that happens at the end of this season is the death of JJ, and I did not really expect them to do that. I thought, maybe if anything, all these characters are going to be really safe. You see them doing ridiculous things, but the way that they really handled that, I feel like, was very satisfying, even though you have to suspend your disbelief for a lot of the over-the-topness, the stuff that really doesn't make sense, or it's really unrealistic. But having Garf, his own father, kill JJ was just such a impactful scene. Like, it kind of just really sticks with you, because it's like almost a surreal feeling. It's just like you didn't expect it. And I could definitely see fans being absolutely devastated by the end of this season, and just them wrapping up all these different kind of storylines, but also setting up the final season. It has me excited. Other things I didn't really like about this season was the way they shot these night scenes where they're using like this blue tint. I really wasn't a fan of how that looked. It looked very weird and bizarre. I have issues with this season overall. Like, I still have an issue with all the different characters that they introduced, but for the most part, I feel like they got rid of certain characters that needed to kind of wrap up their arc in this season. So I will kind of give them credit for that. I just think that if they were to cut some of these different storylines and we can actually get better ones, like, I would say Kiara has like the weakest storyline out of everybody in here. Yeah, she's the one that kind of, she just doesn't feel important enough, or not. I shouldn't say important. There feels like there's no use for her character for the most part, other than somebody for JJ to kind of protect. It's just kind of weird. I feel like she has completely gotten sidelined. Sarah has more, screen time. We could have gotten more screen time with those two, and even Cleo too. And I love Cleo and Pope's relationship, but sometimes just the Jamaican accent is a little much for me, and it just kind of comes off goofy and unserious sometimes. But I still like those two. Like, they're my favorite Pogues out of everybody, the different characters that we see. But now, what does that mean for season 5? Does that mean that, Rafe has pretty much taken JJ's spot? Is he going to become a Pogue? That's very interesting. I'm not too sure if he will join them, but they have common goals. Rafe has common goals now with our main characters to take out Garf. Garf has the crown now, so let me know how you guys feel about this whole entire season. Part 2, what do you think about part 1? And just everything overall. How'd y'all feel about JJ's death? Do you feel like it was well done? Let me know your negatives. Till next time, I will see y'all in the next one. Peace.